The top performers are proudly sponsored by Warrington Wolves Supporters Trust Squad Builder. Here are your top performers from round number 20 of the Betfred Super League. The top try scorer was Joe Burgess of Hull KR with 4. The top try assists came from Mikey Lewis of Hull KR, he got 8. The top meter maker of the round was Bailey Hodgson of the Lee Leopards, 240 against the wire. Whilst the top tackle buzz came from Josh Fulis with 10, many on the way to Duffy's try. The most clean breaks came from Joe Burgess, he got 3. Whilst the most hard metres made was Reece Martin of the Robins, 154 metres. The top tackler was James Bentley of the Leeds Rhinos, he got 47. Whilst the most goal kicks came from Reece Martin, 7 out of 9 for the Robins. These are your top performers from round number 20. This production comes to you in association with the Bluebell Warrington. Situated in an 18th century building in the town centre and just a 5-minute walk from the HJ Stadium, the Bluebell is the perfect destination for pre- and post-game food and drink. The 2024 Warrington Pub of the Year is now the official home of Super League Raw on Warrington Wolves match days for both home and away supporters. Super League Raw are delighted to have agreed a members-only area, allowing our community to come together to discuss rugby league pre- and post-match. So set your course to the Bluebell Warrington on match days and beyond. You are sure to be greeted with a warm welcome and a cold beer. Super League Raw and the Bluebell, the perfect partnership in enhancing your match day experience. So good evening and welcome to Super League Raw Weekly. No, Reggie, he is in Greece having a very nice break with the family. He'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. But joining me tonight, as always, is Steph Sale and Joel Scholes. Good evening, gentlemen. Are you well?
Good evening, Dave. All good, mate?
Very well indeed. And a big thank you as well to Heather Bailey. Heather Bailey has put a little tip in Super Chats for us, a couple of quid to show her love for what we do every week. You might want to consider becoming a member as well. Have a go over to that QR code there. But yeah, would you like to buy us a beer? Would you like us to buy us a can? If you don't want to, you can use Super Chats to do that. Go into Super Chats, donate £2, buy us a can of beer, show your support that way. Do whatever you want. Everything that you do, of course, gets reinvested back into the channel. It'd be absolutely marvellous if you could do that and help us on our way. Super Chats is open. Also, Peter Barley's gone in there already. So too has Adam Reeves. Super Chat open. If you want your comment read out, as long as it's clean, then use Super Chats and we guarantee you will get your comment read out this evening. Bazza Kingston also showing love and support as well on Super Chats. Thank you, gentlemen. We will be giving shout outs throughout the show. Like I say, buy us a coffee, buy us a beer. Why not? Use Super Chats to do that as well. Right, lots to talk about. I mean, as we've said on the graphic for the show, Super League is hotting up both on and off the field. We'll try and keep it on the field as much as possible because, of course, there's lots to celebrate in the game of rugby league, especially the week ahead. Some massive games on the horizon this week, which I think everybody would agree. Rolstag Thompson, you're quite right. He says, become a member, folks. Scan that QR code. Rolstag joined us about a month ago now, maybe a little bit longer. St. Helens fan, and he's been a part of the Final Whistle podcast. And I have to say, he must live on the border because he talks a lot of sense, does Rolstag, I have to say. But it's been absolutely marvellous to have him as part of the community. We need more supporters. We need more people on the Final Whistle podcast. So why not join Volstag as well? Right, a bit of very, very important business. Somebody's already done the QR code. Marvellous. Of course, Mickey Hyam. We broke this last week. A lot of people didn't know last week about the Mickey Hyam story. Of course, we spoke about it on the show last week. We and Steph seen Mickey in the stadium on Friday night. And Steph, it's fair to say that despite obviously what him and his family are going through at the moment, when we met him, he seemed in good spirits.
Yeah, no, it was lovely to see him and have that brief chat with him. Obviously, we said anything Super League Raw can do to help, we'll of course do that. We'll be attending his walk on the 24th of August. He put on the screen there, and anybody who can, the Derek put out today about the shirt sales have now gone past 900, which is phenomenal. I think it was 16.5 grand just from the 500 initial ones. So fantastic that. I know a lot of our members, OKR fans, Leeds fans, they've all been buying this shirt. So if anybody can buy it and they want to contribute that way, that'd be a phenomenal way to show support, but not also with money, but also physically at the grounds. It'd be great to see these dotted about the Super League stadium. But if you can just make, like you've done a super chat, if you can just make a couple of quid, go to the donate page because he really does need it. And this is to pay for treatment what he can't get in this country. So anything we can do to help him and obviously help him battle this horrible disease, I know it'd be greatly appreciated by him and his family.
Yes, absolutely. Brilliant shirt. Great that all the proceeds, all the profits for that shirt will be going to Mickey and his family to get that treatment. Like I say, please do buy the shirt. But if you can't buy the shirt, go to their GoFundMe page. There's the QR code. When you watch this on repeat, you can rewind it later once we finish the show. Get that QR code. Go to the GoFundMe page. Keith Lambert is also, Keith Lambert, thank you very much. I'm going to say that £2 is a wee dram for Joel. That's Joel's. Joel tonight is on the brandy. Joel, that one there's just paid for your brandy, mate. Absolutely marvellous. Well done to Keith.
Thank you.
Standing stuff. Right. I mean, look, this is what we do. It's what we do here at Super League Raw. We keep saying this every week. It's a two-way thing. Yeah. We bring you great entertainment. We talk, we believe we talk a lot of sense around the game of rugby league. We're very passionate about the game of rugby league. But unlike most podcasts and other people out there, it's one way, it's information giving, and you don't really get you involved, whether it be chat, the super chats and the comments. I mean, of course, we'll give the members a lot of comments that they'll go out anywhere, but if you want it, definitely it's got to be super chats. But members, don't worry, you'll still get a very good fair shout because of course you were members, so why wouldn't you get shout outs throughout the show? I also noticed that Nicola Burtonwood has given us 4 kisses. We got kisses for the first time in the flesh on Friday. We met Nicola for the first time, the girl that was kissing all of us on the titles. That was Nicola Burtonwood. It was an absolute pleasure. I've not washed my cheeks since. Anyway, that's by the by. But no, look, it's what we do. It's a two-way thing, and nothing, and I mean nothing, proved that more than when, of course, young Alfie Sales came to our notice earlier in the season. £2,803 the Super League Raw community raised for the family to go and make memories with Alfie. That's what we did. He was actually on Granada Reports last night as well. Banging the drum. I hope Bazza Kingston now have a drink from Claire, a £5. That's definitely for the brander. But yeah, in terms of, he was on Granada Reports, they're getting things to auction off. We're going to be, hopefully, we're going to be arranging this. We're going to be having a dinner at the end of the season for him. Some of these prizes that they're getting, we're going to raffle it off there, but I think there's going to be that many. They'll have prizes to raffle off in a lot of places, not just here at Super League Raw. But there's no doubt about it. The Sales family, they have got a real connection with us here at Super League Raw. They really do love what we did. We jumped on it. We raised some money. We had Alfie down at the Challenge Cup. He went to Madame Tussauds, which was one of the things he wanted to do. He's got a bucket list as Alfie. And I thought, you know what? Because he's our superstar and he's been on local news, it's only right and appropriate we bring him back on to Super League Raw. So here he is for an update. There he is. There's young man. Hello, young man. How are you?
Good.
Yes. Minecraft. Do you like a bit of Minecraft?
Yeah.
Outstanding stuff. Do you build some nice places? I don't know the game that well, but I know you build things.
Yeah.
You enjoy that, do you?
Yeah.
Fantastic. What was it like seeing yourself on the telly yesterday?
I don't know.
You don't know? Did you
It
see
was
it?
actually, it was actually at Anfield at the time, and then we started getting messages because we spoke to Victoria from Granada Reports, and she kind of said that the story was going to be covered, but wasn't sure when. And then my mum and my sister both messaged us while we was at Anfield and said that Alfie had just been on
Fantastic.
the telly.
Fantastic. Well, all I will say, Alfie, is from now on, when you go out your house, make sure you take a Sharpie with you, because you might have to sign the odd autograph, mate. You know what I mean? You don't want to be caught out when people ask for your signature, young man. Right, okay. So like I say, young Alfie, absolute superstar. We're going to be making some great memories for Alfie and his family because of those donations. It's not over yet. You can still donate. I know that Steph is going to continue to donate throughout the year to give this young man as many experiences that we possibly can, and of course, memories for a lifetime for him and his family. Right then, Kieran, so we know what you've been and done. You did the Challenge Cup with us. You've done Madam Two Swords. Anything else that you've got to tell us?
Yeah, so on the calendar at home today, I've added an initial, which is MMT, which stands for Magical Mystery Tour. So, you know, this is from what, you know, the Super League Raw community has raised for us. So on Saturday, we're off to London. We're going, so they just bear in mind that Alfie doesn't know, Mila Rose doesn't know, so they don't know anything about this. So
they're finding out live on the show.
But yeah.
Fantastic. Crack on.
So we're off to London. So we're driving down on Saturday morning. We're staying at the same hotel that we stayed for the Challenge Cup.
Beautiful.
There's a clue.
Yes.
So on Sunday, we're going watching Liverpool against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield.
Lovely.
So that's on Sunday. But on Saturday night before that, and none of these know that, is that we're going watching The Lion King in the West End.
Beautiful.
I'm Mum. Hi.
Hello, Mum. Hello, Mum. How are you?
Oh my God, that's I've been wanting to watch that for ages, Alfie. I have to keep all things in check, you know. That's my job. I have to keep this in check. How would you feel about that? That's a big thing, isn't it?
And then part two is once we've been to London and done the Wembley and everything. The other thing which was on Alfie's wish list was Legoland. So we're going to Legoland as well.
Yay! Lovely. Fantastic. Now, look, everybody is in the chat sending your best wishes. Carla Collier, Craig Forth, Rebecca Frey. Now, Rebecca has also got into her loft and found another historic Warrington shirt that he's signed, and she's going to be giving that to your daddy as well to auction off. So that's another member that's found a shirt that's signed. So that's coming your way. Adam Reeves, Bazza Kingston, Paul Fell. I can't give you all a shout out. Oliver Stokes, the young lad who does Ask Ollie, he's saying, hi, Alfie, how are you doing? They're all saying, how are you doing? Every single one of you who have donated to this, that is what you've just donated to. Look at the face of Alfie when he just found out that he's off to the Lion King, he's off to the Challenge, to the Charity Shield, he's off to Legoland, all courtesy of this community. And we will continue to support the family, raise money. The end of season dinner that we really will deliver for you. We will make sure that happens and that becomes a reality. Kieran, it melts me out. It's so wonderful that we've been able to do this for
everybody. That's, you know, without you guys, you know, that this wouldn't be happening. So it's, you know, we just can't thank you enough, you know, for what you've done.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
I'd say, I'm not being funny, but what's really lovely is that the whole family, obviously people listening to the podcast, the whole family is on the camera. I mean, it's the first time we've seen Alfie's sister and his mum. On behalf of all of us, you're a lovely family. We're delighted to have been able to help you. We'll continue to help you. And Alfie, as always, you are going to owe me some pictures, my friend. Okay, so make sure Daddy takes his camera. We want lots of photographs at the weekend, and who knows, it might be a special Alfie titles next week, seeing you enjoying all of these wonderful experiences.
Let me take the photos because they'll be things missing, there'll be heads missing and everything if I take the photos. I'm not very good at taking photos.
Fantastic. Well, look, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for coming on. You're a wonderful family. We're delighted to be able to help you. And young Alfie, like I say, make sure you take loads of photos. We'll be seeing you all very, very soon. Thanks for coming on. It's a great. There's no better way to start the show, Alfie, than have you on it, mate. So you look after yourself, pal. Okay.
He's off to. We're off to Captain's Run at Lee Leopards tomorrow as well. We've been invited by the Leopards, so yeah.
Beautiful.
You're being manager, aren't you? You're taking it over tomorrow. You're gonna boss them all about.
No, he's too busy looking at himself on the camera.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to get the amount of cameras he's getting on, mate. He's got to get used to that. You know what I mean? With stardom comes cameras, but no, lovely to see you all. You take care.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
coming on, and we'll look forward to getting the photos. Take care, Kieran. All
Take
our
care.
best, all our
See you
love.
later.
Bye
Bye.
for now. How good's that?
Bring me in there, mate.
It's amazing. Amazing.
I wish you wouldn't do that to us. Give us some prayer notice, please.
Mate, it's amazing. And do you know what? Let's be fair. You know, it's just what we do. You know, we had Alex's baby born. The community buys, you know, stuff for Alex's kid. We had Baz's 40th at the weekend. People going out the way to send him gifts, doing videos. We've got people at the moment who are having life challenges, and this community is picking them up. A family that they never knew they had 2 years ago, they have now. This is more than rugby league. This community that we're building is exceptional. Become a part of it. Donate now. Get on the inside of it. You'll never ever forget it or regret it. That is a great, great way to start the show. I have to say, I've got a lump in my throat as well. Absolutely wonderful. If you want to donate to Action for Alfie, donate now. Go to his GoFundMe page. All the details that you need are there. Or if you go onto that QR code. Steph, have you pulled yourself together, mate?
It's wonderful, isn't it? It is wonderful what the community has done, and I remember getting that wish list sent through in terms of what he'd done, and just to see it go from that to actually seeing those experiences materialise for that special lad is phenomenal, and he'll have a great day tomorrow at Captain's Run. But what a weekend that is that they've got coming up, and it's fantastic. And thank you to everybody who's donated. Don't matter if it's a pound or £10, whatever you've contributed to making memories for that lad, which you should all be very proud of.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Look, at the end of the day, rugby is secondary to that, of course, but that's what we're here to discuss. So all our love and best wishes to the Sales family. Absolutely marvellous, wonderful stuff. Right, okay, let's get into the rugby league debate. Right, Joel, over to you, mate. We'll give you a couple of minutes. You saw the interview we did with Derek at the weekend. Obviously, you'll have had a bit more time to think about the announcement that came through last Monday. Your thoughts, mate?
I think it was very insightful. I was thinking when I was watching it, I kind of wish we had a lot more Dereks in the world, especially around rugby league. I feel like we'd have a far better product. We've already got a very good product, but he's so great at knowing. Sorry, that was a machine in the background there. He's excellent at knowing how to market and PR. Not just his brand at Lee, but also just the rugby league in the wider spectrum, which is amazing. I thought he's very open and very candid about things, and I think that's what's been lacking in rugby league for such a long time. We've needed them figures that can just say things as they are, give us the actual download on what's been happening, and it was very interesting because we all look from our own club standpoints. We always are quite biased towards are we going to be in Super League and not. I know you guys aren't much worried about that, but me as a Huddersfield fan, I'm very worried. And I think that there are certain teams, there's certainly 3 or 4 teams that could overtake us, and I really feel for my mate Matty Timms. I really do, and it's a difficult time because you think, man, we could not be in Super League potentially. So when Derek opens up and says that everything that's been done is so above board and kind of squishes some of them worries or concerns that we've had, it's quite refreshing. because then at least we know that if we do go down, we've gone down for the right reason, and others have deserved to be up more than we have. Just because you've been in Super League for so many years doesn't mean that you deserve to stay there because of that merit alone. And it was nice that he spoke quite highly of Ken Davey, that they're quite aligned on things, and they want to get things over the line. Very surprising that he wasn't as keen on some of the owners or MDs that have had their say on things. However, they've made sure that the greater good of rugby league has come to the fore, and the right decisions are being made. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what's happening for the 2026 season. This is definitely somewhere where you want to be keeping your eyes close to the ground, and especially at Super League Raw, especially with all the interviews that we get to listen to. And having an exclusive from Derek is not an easy feat. So certainly, if you can become a member, please do so, because you get the news here first, and that's something that we champion here at Super League Raw.
Yeah, and I think that, look, it's not that we're not listening to different opinions with regards to what happened last week, because that'd just be foolish. But I think what I would say, and the reason why I do like what Derek brings to the sport and what Derek's got to say, is that if we carry on doing what we are doing currently, this game is dying. It's as simple as that. And I love this game. So we need forward thinking. And absolutely every big decision in the world that has bore fruit, from flight to the World Wide Web to whatever it may be, those people were told this will never work. Those people were told you're running uphill. It's never going to happen. We need visionaries. We need revolutionary people. Will everything that they do work? No, but it's better to have failed trying than to have never have tried at all. And that, I think, is where we're at. And I think that, certain decisions appear to have been made. Like at Olympia, it would appear that we're going to have a 14-team comp. So rather than argue, is that right or is that wrong? And don't get me wrong, healthy debate is useful. I'm not saying it's not useful. But when a decision appears to have been made and we're running with it, then it's about galvanizing as a sport, getting behind it, and trying our best, each and every one of us, to make that vision a success, no matter what that vision is. And I think that's where it is. Do I like everything that's going on at the moment? I mean, Magic is the case in point. A lot of people upset Magic's gone. I'm upset that at the moment Magic is looking unlikely for 2026. Or if it does happen, as Derek said, it's going to be in a different format. And with that becomes a bit of trepidation. Of course it does. But at the end of the day, if we had no Magic next year, I'm gutted. And I'm gutted for all the reasons that Derek said, not just about the rugby league, but the community aspect that we have here at Super League Raw, because we get together. That's what we do. We get together. And it'll be one less one to do. So we'll maybe have to go to a different game together. But I think at the moment, there's a lot of things that we're yet to find out, yet to hear. But what I would say is this: we need to get behind it, because if the fans don't get behind it, that's going to be a major problem. And these people are putting big money into the game. Anything that they're doing, they're going to want a return on investment for. They're not doing it because they want to throw money down the toilet. They've been doing that for the past 20 years. This is about getting a sustainable rugby league. That was the Derek Beaumont interview. I think we've done that to death. We had the exclusive. If you've not seen it, go and have a look at it. We spoke about it on the final whistle. Joel's now had his 2p as well. I think we probably flogged that one. Chris Radlinsky, credit to All Out Rugby League in terms of the Chris Radlinsky interview. I really enjoyed it. Chris Radlinsky is a very, very impressive individual. And, very different personality to Derek. But again, somebody that when he speaks, you listen. Steph, I know you watched that interview with great interest. Your thoughts on what Chris had to say?
Right, it was a really, really good interview, and I think they asked Chris some really good questions. Matt Shaw challenged him quite a bit in terms of his opinions on things. Chris, no one can doubt that he's got the best interest in rugby league at heart. Chris Radlinsky is a pioneer in terms of speaking with the Warrington Club about Vegas and all that kind of thing. And I wouldn't expect anything less from the person running the club like Wigan. That's the kind of club they are. They're always going to be a leader in our sport. And I think a lot of the things that Chris said made a load of sense. I really liked how he explained how they abstained from the decision, because I was quite critical of Wigan for not voted in one of the biggest decisions. But if they were promised stuff and it didn't come to fruition, and they've chosen that as a reason not to do it, I can totally get on board with that. And that's, I think, why it's so important that these members do come out, not as PR for the Rugby League. It's they're speaking out on their own understandings of what they were in that meeting, and it was fascinating to hear Chris's version of it. Likewise, it was great to hear Matt Ellis as well. And it's funny how these are the ones that are coming out and actually doing the stories. Maybe they feel more comfortable in front of the camera explaining it. But what we do know is the majority of the clubs agreed to what's happened and what they want to do. Whether they like every aspect, they've still made the decision to accept it and go forward. But no, I thought both those interviews with the others were conducted brilliantly. And I thought that Chris and Matt Ellis, who I'm always impressed with Matt Ellis, I think he speaks so much common sense. And it's no coincidence that these are the clubs that are actually increasing attendances. They are the ones putting the extra entertainment on because they have to. They have to work really hard to get to where they're going to and to get the crowd increases that they're having. So I was really impressed with both those interviews. I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's a very valid point you make there in terms of the clubs. Because let's be fair, Lee are probably a lot further forward in terms of sustainability than most clubs. We're seeing Wakefield do something similar, Hull KR. So these clubs, I know Hull KR wanted to delay till 2027, but these clubs that have come up seem to have. I mean, again, there's very complex, and we don't know how each individual club is run. The balance sheet and the profit and loss accounts are showing it that those clubs are getting more right than wrong when it comes to financials. So you've got to sit back at times, and these people who own these clubs, very intelligent people. It's highly unlikely that they're going to make decisions that are going to take the game down. They want the game to be successful.
I share those same concerns as okay. I think most people do in terms of next season. Whoever comes up, be that York, be that Widnes, be that Oldham, Toulouse, whoever it is going to find it very difficult to recruit a team and be ultra competitive. But are they going to be, like Derek said in his interview, are they going to be more competitive than what we've seen from Salford? I would argue we are, and I'm prepared as a fan.
Well, look, London. I'm sorry to step, but London were last year.
Exactly, yeah, and I'm prepared as a fan to sacrifice next year in terms of having maybe some at the bottom that aren't as competitive as we could be, to have that system in place. We know where we're at going into the negotiating TV contracts. And then from 27, it can kick on then. And they're established. They've had a year in. They can do the recruitment from May like everybody else whenever it is they start. So I have the concerns, but I also understand why they've gone for it in 26 and not gone, we need to hold back, because sometimes when you hold back, things never happen.
Yeah, and I don't know about you. I mean, obviously, for me, when I was managing back in the day, meetings should have agendas. Meetings should, and I thought Chris Radlinsky saying that, the fact that nothing was given in advance of that meeting, again, on our interview, Derek conceded there should have been a press conference after. There's so many learnings, and they need to improve as an organisation, and they do. There's no doubt about it. They've got to get closer, and they've got to become more robust. There's no doubt about it that Derek probably runs his business better than Rugby League runs it in terms of those type of things. And it'd be the same for Matt Ellis and other people. They probably have great structures in their business that work for them. From the outside looking in, the Rugby Football League at times, you scratch your head. I mean, when Radlinsky, Joe, started talking about the IMG and what was not on the sheet, it was just like, who in the right mind? I mean, we forget the structure that IMG has brought in from a grading perspective. Mm-hmm. But in terms of what their remit was, the most important elements that should have been in that remit were not on it. Now, who on earth decided that was the remit that IMG were going to have, that they weren't going to pull on their links to big personalities, big marketing, big promotion, and instead made, to quote Chris Radlinsky, a lot of what they were brought in to do, we were doing already. Yeah. Joe, your thoughts?
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And there's a point I want to make after answering your question there, Dave, from Chris's interview. As regards the things that IMG are promising on and are supposedly meant to be happening, that they've just not delivered on. They said that there's going to be more clarity, there's going to be more transparency. I still yet myself to see anybody who put a face to a name or even a name to anybody at IMG. Still not seen anybody yet. If they're telling clubs certain things and other clubs other things, you can now see the disparity. Why you've got some that have voted for the 10-team comp, some have voted for 14, and some have voted to stay the same. You know, are they saying the same thing across to different people and not having the same, you know, singing off the same hymn sheet? We don't know that, but that's just speculative. The point I got from Chris's interview, which I thought, and it's something that Steph touched on, was that certain things are being voted for in a certain way because of very good reasons. And I think we as rugby league fans are very, very quick to jump on people's backs and make presumptions and kind of come to our own conclusions without waiting for the facts. Now, this is a good opportunity for every rugby league fan, and that includes all of us, even those three that are on the screen tonight, that we need to just take that step back a second and just think, what else have we heard? What else have they heard that we haven't? And then when Derek says then that, yes, there should be press conferences given, absolutely, completely. And like he said, sometimes press conferences aren't needed because of, you know, they're in certain talks, and that's fine, but maybe just let us know. You know, let the fans know that this meeting's happening. There's not going to be a press conference, X, Y, and Z. Don't have to go into detail and tell us what's been said, but just keep people in the loop, because that's the issue under the old regime. Nothing was ever told to anybody, and then it leaves fans guessing. And then, you know, if that's the case and there's no transparency, you hit massively on your TV deals, your sponsorships, and everything else that comes along with it. You know, all the stuff that really brings in the big money to the sport. So I think with IMG, yes, the grading side is great and everything that they've done there, but they still need to tighten up on the things that they promised from the beginning, and they haven't done so. The transparency for us, for any rugby league fan, is the biggest thing, and that is what we need them to see.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I really, really couldn't. I just felt that, you know, again, Chrissy's interview just gave different perspectives and different light on where we're currently at. But again, the undertone from Chris was, we have to be progressive. We have to do something different. We have to move forward. And of course, you know, you're talking big personalities. A lot of these boys that are at the top and ladies at the top of any organisation in any industry, they're not shrinking riots, you know. So when you're getting big personalities with, you know, I mean, you know, it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, they've got wallets that they're all comparing the size of, you know, that's the reality of it. So, you know, but I think what they all love is this game of rugby league. And I think for me, it appears for the first time that the penny has dropped. And even though there might be some differences of opinion, in the main, I think there's an absolute resolute attempt on behalf of these owners to really now to start to ramp it up and look at ways in which we need to improve and perhaps not be so held to the status quo. I mean, for example, Sky and things like that. Now, I thought Derek spoke very candidly about that and seemed very confident about that. Didn't seem too worried about that. And, you know, again, you know, sometimes you've got to change. The BBC got free-to-air rugby league this year. Look what they've done to it. Now, BBC and rugby league have got a great relationship. It doesn't mean that, you know, you don't separate at some point when things don't go right. You know, and at the moment, I think there's a lot of questions over the BBC where they've handled rugby league this year. And again, why shouldn't we be having those conversations? Why shouldn't we be holding their feet to the flames with regards to that? You know, was that on the crib sheet with the BBC? Was there any demand? Did they say that, you know, was it omitted? Was it presumed that it was going to be on BBC One and BBC Two and it wasn't put in writing? Or were we all sold a fable? Was it all the way going to be a lot of it behind the scenes on iPlayer? And who signs up for that when Channel 4 are willing to put it on Channel 4? You know, there's a lot I think that's still to come out, but I think what we've got to do is just get behind this now. It's happening. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to carry on the discussion in a different area in terms of what Chris Radlinsky had to say in a moment. But before we do, Rebecca Frey, she's got in on Super Chat to say it's the best community. It helps me massively. And I want to just clarify this point for everybody as to why you should consider coming with us on this journey. There are certain members that we have who are very fearful of being in large groups. You know, and we've got quite a few members. The Super League Raw have been a tonic for them, a real tonic, where they've come to grand finals, where they've come to meetups. And now, you know, whereas maybe once before they'd have been at home, not watching rugby league or watching it on the telly on their own. are now actually having the confidence to come with their Super League Raw family to games. And I'm sure Rebecca wouldn't mind me saying it. Rebecca this week, for the first time, went to Lee away as a Warrington fan. She got herself there. Okay, she stayed over the night in Lee, and then myself and Greg gave her a lift home on Saturday morning. And that was because she had the confidence, because she knew familiar faces were going to be there with her. She wasn't going to be alone. That's what we do. That's what Super League Raw is all about. We share lifts, we share experiences, we give people confidence to go to more rugby league matches in the knowledge that they're with friends. That's what we're all about. Rebecca, you're a massive part of our community. It's fantastic that you're enjoying it so much. It really is. Right, let's get on to a thing that they did touch upon. And Chris Radlinsky was a realist. Wasn't happy about it, but he was a realist. In order to expand to 14 teams, opportunity is going to be knocking. Opportunity is going to be knocking. I'm going to just list out some names. Okay. Logan Moy, Deneve Balnforth, Jack Sinfield, potentially people like Kai Taylor-Ray. Who else are we going to go for? Jack Farriman, we mentioned already. Yeah, Noah Stevens, not been getting many games at Saints. Of course, he's people expect him to be the long-term successor, but he's not been getting many games. Where's Noah Stevens at? You know, we always say contracts don't mean anything. Could somebody wrap a new pack around Noah Stevens? So there's certain players already in the game that could be the spearhead of teams 13 and 14 in 2026, coupled with players that are at the latter stage of their career. Case in point, somebody like Josh Griffin, who, when he went to Wakefield, people are going, that's a nothing signing, but look what he's done for Wakefield. And there's many more like that who may just actually go to one of these 13 and 14 teams for an experience. So you've got these younger ones that haven't managed to make it in their squads currently, as well as these ones that are going to be coming to the end of the career with experience. And then in the middle, their own development pathways, championship players. I mean, let's not forget London last year, Josh Rourke. Came from Batley, came from nowhere. Look at him now and what he's doing at Wakefield. Bill Leyland just got a new contract at Hull KR. Another case in point there that was with London last year. The championship does have some really good, strong players. So this talk about talent pools and the 10 teams, so the 10 overseas that can now be signed. For me, there's a bit of pressure now and maybe a bit of pain coming for some of these more established clubs, because some teams 13 and 14 will be looking at those players I've just mentioned and more like them to go, well, hang on a minute. You know, their club might only see him at 60 grand. If we offer him 90, we might be able to prize these to our club. And that is where quality starts to get into that 13 and 14 team earlier than many anticipate. So your thought on that, Steph, you know, like these players that I've just mentioned there and more like him, the talent is there and the pressure, and Chris pretty much said, he can't do anything about it. You know, it's a salary cap sport. If somebody comes in and offers one of his players 30, 40 grand more that he can't give them, then that player's got a decision. And if they decide to move on, then the quality is being spread out across more teams, which improves the quality of the sport. We don't get blowouts. We don't get blowouts with Salford. There's a lack of quality. Depth of quality.
It's the classic rugby league hypocrisy for me, this one, and I do chuckle at this, because when the 10 quota players came out, everyone said it's going to stifle British talent coming through, yeah, and then we go to 14 teams and people said there's not enough players. Well, hang on. You were just telling me that there's too many British talent coming through, that it's going to stifle them coming through because we're bringing 3 extra players in per team. So you can't have it both ways. You know, for me, this is one of the biggest pluses of bringing 2 extra teams in. That these players, like Logan Moy, is a great point. You know, he's a Super League. You know, he's old enough now to be a Super League starting player, and he should be getting his chance now in rugby league, and he will hopefully move to one of these 2 teams if he's not getting in the FC squad. So this is where these lads are going to get opportunity now. There isn't going to be people in the academy who you know, just can't get in. They're always, you know, 30 on the squad list. You know, those type of players now will be able to go and have a shot, and we're going to uncover some gems, because they're going to go to Super League, clubs, standard clubs, a bit earlier now. And this is the biggest plus point for me in terms of the youth development. So it's a great thing for me, and I think it just gets rid of this argument now regarding the 10 overseas players, because there's plenty of opportunity in Super League for young British players, especially if you're good enough, even more so now.
Well, Paul Fail there, over from Canada there, Super League World member from Canada, a good salary cap, 14 teams, makes the league more competitive exactly for this reason. If they're good enough, they're in. I mean, don't get me wrong, I heard, and Paul Rowley's has said this a few times, we've said it a few times, around player welfare. You've got to be careful with young players. You can't have 13 teenagers taking on 13 established pros. It's a bloodbath. That wouldn't be right. But the reason why we see the likes of Harry Robertson's coming through, etc., and we saw a great case in point, Joel, me and Steph live at Lee. Bailey Hodgson, by his standards this season, and Keenan Brand had shockers, absolute shockers on Friday. They really did look very, very nervy. But then, because they're playing in a team of quality, we saw Josh Charnley coming in and basically catching a few high bombs for Bailey Hodgson to take the pressure off. If you've got 13 teenagers playing, you can't do that. So this balance between those who are on the way out, Chris Hill, case in point. I mean, he's gone to Bradford this week. Paul Vaughan, he's going to York. Are their best years behind him? Absolutely. But they know what professionalism is. They know, they know what it's like to be at the top end of the sport. So you bang them into these clubs with some really good, exciting youngsters, what they've already got and a few more besides. All of a sudden, it could be like we saw with London. If London knew that they were going to be in Super League this year, they would have added to that squad and they would have still been in Super League now. But they were failed by the present system. It's a perfect point. London should have been in Super League this year and should have been given those assurances so that they could have bought last year, because they didn't buy, because they knew they were pretty much going back down because of ING. So they didn't do anything. Had they been given the assurances that they were in Super League 2025, they would have been even more competitive than they were last year, because they would have built. It was one of the greatest shames ever in our sport in recent times. Had we got London right, already the competition would be in a better place, Joel.
And that would have had your likes of your Josh Rocks not having to be shipped out to other teams. Now, bear with me on this point, because I've got to, if you don't mind, just give me a couple of minutes on this, because this steam comes out my ears when I hear people saying 12 teams and 10 teams is the way forward. No, it's not. 14 teams, and they say that 14 teams, you're not going to have enough players. I know you've touched on it, but this has been going around in my head for weeks as this. And you've got to imagine this. I'm going to give you 5 names, in fact. So, Keenan Brand, you've got Billy Hodgson, Jack Farriman, George Flanagan, Josh Rourke. You think, before them guys got their chance to play Super League, would you have played them? Or if you got told they were playing that day, would you have any confidence in them? No, you wouldn't. You've seen them play. These guys, right, other than Billy Hodgson and Keenan Brand, they have great games. Look at how they've played in the games that they have played. 9 times out of 10, they've been pretty good. And we see how great the great potential that they've got moving forward. Now, here is where people like Chris Radlinski's sweat a little bit, because for them, it's a much cheaper option to be able to bring them in when they need them, and then they know that the players are safe. They're not going to go anywhere else, because when they play for Wigan, they know that if they get the chance, they're going to play. However, when you've got 2 more teams added in, you've got 37 times 2 to bring in. Then what it does is it creates the opportunity for teams that come through, and your likes of your Huddersfields, to buy like your Josh Rocks, to buy your possible Tessie News. Had he not been playing as well as he's playing for Lee. You see these players getting the opportunity with a team for regular Super League. They know the players themselves that their market value goes up. So the bigger clubs worry then, because they think, well, if I want them back at some point, I'm going to pay a lot of money for them. Whereas the team that buys them off them for a much cheaper price, your people like your Huddersfields, your Salfords, I won't say Wakefields now, but as of the start of the season, your Wakefields and your Castlefords, even your Hull FCs, they're going to be buying these players that are young and old. And then the players that are a bit older, all right, yeah, they get shipped down to the Championship. That's been a lifelong thing, and that'll never change, just because You know, they can't do the full-time thing anymore. But what it does do is it brings not just the price of the players up, which is always good for the sport. It brings up the quality because they're getting the game time. So what happens then is you get, if it's done right, we're going to get a massive equalising, where we're going to have a massive talent in the player pool, and it's going to be quality players throughout, whether it be young or old, because they're getting the game time. And this is the major thing. So when people say there's not enough players, and he's too young to play in Super League, rubbish. Every good team plays their young players at some point. Look at your Wiggins and your Saints. They are at Leeds, fantastic at playing their young players, and they're giving them the opportunities. Other clubs don't have that luxury. Now we're affording that luxury. Do it right, and we're going to get some very good players coming through.
They just need to be surrounded by experience. I mean, a player that you mentioned on your Mount Rushmore, Sam Burgess on debut back in the day, looked a fully fledged rugby league player, and look what he went on to do. Sam Tompkins came through young. Jack Wellsby came through young, but they were in teams surrounded by experience as well. So it's that balance. This team 13 and 14, if they bring in experience, good experience, they've already got a pool of players. There's some good players down in that championship. Let's not worry about that. Let's not worry about that at all. So they're going to get an opportunity of a tickle and livelihood. But again, you mentioned about double standards and things like that. Hull FC wanted a 10-team Super League. How does that expand the sport? How does that expand? It does the complete opposite, because there's less opportunity.
Yeah,
it does the complete opposite. So, and I'm not shooting on FC when I say that, but the reality is this: if you condense it to 10 and don't reduce you don't reduce the overseas contingent, you are reducing the amount of opportunities for British players.
There's far more damage than 3 quota players.
Of course it does.
Go to 10, you are going to lose your scholarships for definite, and you might lose some of your academies. Teams like Huddersfield are definitely going to lose their academy if that went down to 10. But we've got a very good academy, even though we're just Huddersfield, a very good academy. But the scholarship, which we've also got, is gone. And all these teams, and then you find your Wiggins and your Leeds and your St Helens and your Warringtons, and Leeds, the quality is going to go down, because then you've got the issue of, right, some of our players are going to have to go to Championship, and they're never going to progress, and then the sport dies. I don't know why they went to 10, or they were going to say going for 10.
Well, Volstagg, I did say that Volstagg's, little gem. He's obviously on the border. I keep saying that. He's on the border. But, he says it there, Dagnall, Whitby, Robertson, Delaney, Stevens, all coming through the system at Saints. But the thing is, there's more where they came from. Saints can only take so many. We're going to bring in theirs through. They can only take so many. I've got to give Warrington some raps. Go and have a look at the reserve league. They're doing well. Warrington have really improved in terms of their academy scholarship and reserve structure. They really have, and they deserve a lot of credit for it. We know Leeds have got a good one. We know that Lee are investing heavily in theirs. So where traditionally we've had Saints, Wigan, and probably Leeds who've had really, really good structures in place, they can't take every player. What happens to the rest? What happens to the rest? And, Warrington's a case in point. For a long, long time, Warrington had to bring players in. They had to bring players in. I mean, and it's interesting this week, isn't it? Hull KR. Hull KR this week. Bill Leyland has extended. Fantastic. They've took Declan Murphy from Salford, and they've took Kobe Wainhouse from FC. Now, that's what Warrington did. That's what they were doing. But they're actually now, the amount of players playing for Warrington that are coming through the town, that are coming through the local area, that's exactly how Warrington used to do it. Just poach the best of the rest. And they were the ones who tend to find the way through. And then the rest just made the numbers up. But now Wigan, Saints, Warrington, there's loads of homegrown within the postcodes of that borough coming through. And that's what we need right across the spectrum. I know that KR are building their reserve as well, but what we want really is less moving of these players around the academies. It's like your point over Farriman. If Lee had an academy when Farriman was coming through, imagine if Farriman was now at Lee. That spreads the pool of quality. That's what it does. Yeah. If you put all the quality in one team, they can't all make it. It just won't happen. They're like kids in a sweet shop. We've got that many, we don't know what to do with them. And by the time they get to 23, 24 and offloaded, That's 4 years of Super League experience they're never going to get, which will affect their long-term chances in the game.
Yeah.
Players that are going to make it, we know they're going to make it at 20 and 21.
Yeah.
For them to be sat on a bench, this isn't football where, Calvin Phillips goes from Sunderland to City for money, sits on a bench and becomes a multi-millionaire. And he doesn't care. These lads love the sport. They want to be playing every week. So we need it to be spread around. And the more that the academies are invested in, the more that come through each individual club, I think very, very quickly, we're going to see just how in good shape our game actually is. You put the sprinkle of some Tessie news in there, and again, Lee, we go back to Lee. Look at Lee's recruitment over the last 3 or 4 years in terms of these Queensland Cuppers. Now, rather than question, Tessie New's not on an absolute mega bucks deal at Lee. He probably will be next time round, but he's not at the minute.
Yeah.
So if Lee can go and find quality that will also, Hanley, good British prospect. You're not telling me, Steph, that he's not improved having Tessie New in training with him.
Yeah. And working under Adrian Lamb.
Absolutely.
As well. Don't forget. So this is the point, and it's like Noah Stevens, case example. If he'd been playing at a Super League side, or even if it is a York that come up, or a Bradford or a Toulouse or whoever, that's experience that would have brought him on, especially in that position of a forward where we know it takes a bit longer for those to come through well. But if they're still in a full-time environment, not dropping to a championship, maybe not getting the confidence knocked, am I ever going to make it as a Super League player? There's all sorts of different benefits that come back from it. And on your point on the Queensland Cup one, people need to stop saying that about the Queensland Cup competition and how it's not worthy of Super League and the talent's not there to bring over. What the problem is the people who are recruiting them and are doing the due diligence and the homework, because I'd say pretty much 9 out of 10 of the Lee ones have all been a success. Whether you can say that's luck, or whether you put that down to good judgment, I'd put it down to being scouted right and finding the right players. These quality players are in that competition. And like at Olympic, the NRL is superior to Super League. So that, if we're going to bring over players to help improve us, and also it doesn't have to be forever. This could be a period where we then reduce it again after 10 years and say, actually, there's that many British coming to do because the competition's that successful now. Or we've gone to 16 teams as people like Matt Ellis.
That's utopia. That's utopia.
Yeah. Exactly. Brilliant from Matt Ellis to say that. I loved his ideas around keeping the local talent with that club and not being able to be poached at such a young age. Yeah. And then when they get into a certain age category, 18, 19, if they're not breaking through and someone else wants to take them on, then fair game for me. But this is where there's more than enough players in the world to make Super League a good competition at 14 teams. And no one will convince me otherwise. It's about having the right recruitment. Like, is it Steve Mills at Wakefield? Phenomenal job he's doing on recruitment. Ex Lee coach as well. But he's doing a fantastic job there. So this is where the Super League clubs need to be really focused on. It's not just about your playing staff. It's about your backroom staff and how good they are at identifying the talent. Chris Chester, Castleford. Cass should get some great recruits going over there. They should be very optimistic because he was the one who brought most of them to Lee. And this is what we need to do: identify the really good players. And if they're not good enough, then you don't sign them again. It's simple as that. And not everyone will hit, but if you do things right, the majority will, and it'll improve our competition.
Spot on. But I'm really aware of the fact, 55 minutes in, we've had Alfie. We don't apologise for having Alfie on. Alfie was fantastic. If you missed it, if you joined us late, then once we're finished, watch the first 5-6 minutes of the show. Young Alfie Sales, it will melt your heart. Again, a massive thank you to our community. We haven't had a super chat for a while, so if you're not a member, but you think, do you know what, they're good, these lads, they're well worth a coffee or a beer, get a super chat in. If you're watching on Facebook, get over to YouTube, get a super chat in, give us a couple of quid so we can get ourselves a can of beer. That'd be absolutely marvellous if we're giving you some great entertainment here on a Tuesday night. We'd be very well gratefully received. Right, okay. Now, look, the fact of the matter is we know we've got home and away fixtures. We've got a 26-game comp next year. There's talk of a 9s comp as well. Now, if the 9s doesn't come, another thing that has been floated around for quite some time has been Origin. Now, people might go, oh, come on. But hey, let's look at what happened at the weekend. I said it, the best kept secret in Rugby League happened at Craven Park on Saturday. Congratulations to Yorkshire Academy, who won the series 2-0 over Lancashire at academy level, and congratulations to the Lancashire women's team that won the Origin in the women's team. And of course, post that, the women's team squad to face Wales was announced. Now, this is very, very interesting. Very interesting. Boys, you know me, I do the research. Bazza Kingston has just sent another £2. That's for my can. Thank you very much indeed, Bazza. This, my friend, when I open it up in a moment, I'll just say this one was donated from yourself. But anyway, let's crack on. Here we go, lads. Right? This for me is why a men's Origin, Lancashire, Yorkshire, could be so useful. We all know what happened in Vegas, okay? Now, on the face of it, it was a 50 points to 8 win for Lancashire. You're thinking, bit of a blowout. Okay, maybe it was. But the squad has come out. 12 Lancashire players, 8 Yorkshire players in the England squad, which on that score is about right. You'd expect more Lancashire than you would York when Lancashire have just pumped them 50 points to 8. But here's the one for you. Of the 20 lady squad, only 8 of them played in Vegas. Only 8 of them played in Vegas, and 10 will be on debut. Let that sink in. Now, we've just talked about the men's game not having a talent pool. Let that sink in terms of, Greg says it every week about the state of women rugby league and that there's great players coming through in women's rugby league. Between February of this year and now for this Welsh game, and yes, okay, people say, yeah, well, there's players that are playing over in Australia that are coming. Of course they would. I'm not disputing that. But the bottom line is this. The bottom line is this. 8 players, only 8 players played in Vegas of that 20 lady squad, and 10 debutants are in that squad. So for me, if we're looking for game 27 could be considered Origin. I think there's mileage in it. I really, really do. Provided that the Rugby Football League market it, which they didn't do for either the academy or the women's Origin game. Steph, it's quite sensational to think that that's the split and that's how many debuts will be given against Wales.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and I've always said, the Origin over in the NRL is used for Australian selection, and if we do want to grow the international game, then we've got to look at what other competitions, and particularly the NRL, are doing really well, and we've got to try and emulate it. And there's no reason why Lancashire, Yorkshire, we can't. Yes, I know people say about the M60 corridor, we want to expand, but that's our roots, that's our heritage. And Lancashire, Yorkshire is emotive for people. There's people still sing in the stands now, don't they? About Yorkshire and Lancashire. So it's emotive for people, and that's where in marketing it comes into, because if something's emotive, you're already onto a winner. You're already it then becomes how you build it up and where you hold the event. Getting the right people to broadcast it, not doing it half-heartedly, putting everything into it and making it a real showpiece event, but make it that for me, if we could have done it, and it's a bit, because we've already gone past that point now, if we could have done that this year prior to the Ashes series, you're not telling me that those lads aren't going to go full belt to play in an Ashes series. So imagine how good that would have been, and really built it up as that as well. Selection on the line, bring all the emotions into it. Have backstories about growing up in Yorkshire and what it means to you being a proud Yorkshireman and all that kind of. There's so many good stories around that and how we could build it up and have it at the right venue as well. Have it at a 25,000 seater stadium at the Reebok or somewhere like that to start with. Start a bit smaller, but then grow it to where you can have it at a Newcastle maybe, or a big stadium like that. And I just think that would be a great event, but with selection for an Ashes series on the line, that would get the involvement and excitement of the players as well, which is even more important, because then they'll go hell for leather at each other and make it the spectacle that we want it to be.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. And like I say, a lot of questions. I mean, for a long time, we've had York Valkyrie, we've had Leeds Rhinos, and we've had Saints, and people are saying, the rest are just making the numbers up and this, that, the other. Another little stat for you. 7 out of the 20 ladies in that squad play for Wigan. Just goes to show, doesn't it, Joe?
It does. And and that then brings in the point that, okay, if Magic's going out and we're not going to have the Magic that we know of, we don't know what it's going to entail the new one. But we've said this before. I know I said this before on Weekly early on in the year. War of the Roses. Now, can you imagine people that are not from Yorkshire or Lancashire, or even from England or Britain? War of the what? They don't know what that means. So for them, it's like, oh right, okay. So there's some steeped history here. Like with Origin, it's history. If we have a War of the Roses, we may have then 2 games on that day with women's and a men's War of the Roses. And as Steph so perfectly said, with the Ashes or the World Cup or whatever on the line, that their selection is based off their performance in the War of the Roses. We know, of course, that doesn't equate for everybody in the World Cup or part of the national team. But for those who are part of the core team, from those from Yorkshire and Lancashire, we keep saying we want to get away from the M62 corridor. No, we need to market the M62 corridor rightly. And this might be a perfect opportunity to do that. It might only be one game a year, like we have one series in the year, which we have over in Australia. We don't want to copy what Australia have. We don't want to have an Origin. We don't want to have maybe a 3-game series. Maybe we do. But it could be a one-off game where we have the War of the Roses, and it's marketed to the hilt, and that will then be taken on by these TV people, because War of the Roses was a thing from many years ago, and that will be taken up, I think, quite well by a media team.
Well, I mean, Scott Hardy there, whilst you've been talking, I completely agree with what you're saying, but as well, Joel, Scott Hardy there, why would they go full pelt when they're certain of being in the Ashes? Well, Mikey Lewis would have been playing for Yorkshire and George Williams would have been playing for Lancashire. Imagine the promotion you could have done around that battle alone. Yeah. Because all of us in the sport are saying, how on earth is Mikey Lewis not number 6 at starting for the Ashes over George Williams on present form? Imagine if this weekend just gone, there was an Origin, men's Origin, with Lewis on one side, Williams on the other. Are you telling me if Mikey Lewis got man of the match, that wouldn't swing it his way? I'm telling you now, it actually takes away, before you come into that, it actually takes away the shoeing element. Because if you're going toe-to-toe with your opposite number on the other side of the field, believe you me, this is going to have a big weighting, massive weighting. Go on, Steph.
Andy's put in the chat there, imagine if Warrington lost Williams in a mid-season Roses game. Well, imagine if Penrith lost Nathan Cleary in a mid-season Origin game.
Mm-hmm.
It's irrelevant, mate. It's about if it's built up that well and it becomes that much of a spectacle, and there is Ashes positions on the line, touring sides to Samoa and Tonga or whatever. Look at what it meant to Mikey Lewis to play for for England the other year. He was in tears. It meant that much to him. You're not telling me that they're not going to go hell for leather because they know selections on the line. That's rubbish. If it's marketed right and it's bought into by the fans, and why wouldn't it be if it's going to be a big thing around selection criteria and stuff, then there's no reason why we can't have our version of the Origin. I think War of the Roses is exactly the right thing to call it.
Well done, Rolled Stag. There's another beer coming in, boys, courtesy of Rolled Stag. So yeah, that's another one. And on that now, I can actually open this bad boy. So for all those people who are getting us the beers this evening, thank you very much indeid.
Whilst you're doing that, Dave, can I just mention as well? You know how in the Origin, even over here now, it's got to the point where the question was asked: "Are you a maroon or a blue?" Can you imagine in England? Then in Australia, saying, "Are you a red or a white?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, how good would that be?
But Joel, if you remember, going back quite a lot of episodes now, you'd have to get it signed off, of course. Hey up, Dawn Baker, get the drinks in, boys. There you go, Dawn. Even Dawn's getting involved. Good effort, Dawn. Thank you very much indeed. But yeah, remember my idea. Get a rugby league flag, and the winning team the following day goes on to the Pennines on the M62 motorway at the highest point of that motorway, and they raise the flag. Everybody who travels over will go, what's that flag? They will look it up on the internet and they will see that the Red Rose or the White Rose won an Origin game in rugby league. It gains interest. One of the most simplest marketing gimmicks ever. Nobody's took me up on it. Nobody. That's about 5 times. Imagine where that farmhouse is. You know, everybody talks about that farmhouse and the big myth. Did he not sell his land and did he have to go around? I mean, it's the stuff of legend. Get a flag on the Pennines, red, rose, or white. Whoever wins the Origin game, they go there. They get Sky Sports News there. The raising of the flag. You know, beautiful stuff. That's what we're talking about. That's what should happen. But hey, there you go. Look, very mindful, boys. We're well into this show, but this show was going to be different with all what's been happening. You know, we are toning down a little bit of the flash. That'll come back, and it will. Don't worry about that. But, you know, there's lots to talk about at the moment. So rather than condense it down with videos, we hope that you're enjoying the debate. Get involved in the debate. Get some questions in the chat. Use the super chats if you definitely want your question answering this evening. And for all those who have, you know, bought us a pint, well, thank you very much indeed. It means the absolute world. Right. Now then, let's just consider this as well. All right. Let's just consider this as well. Yeah. Have we ever had a more competitive championship? Have we? We've not. Look at that there. Absolutely marvellous. York beating Oldham. That was a big win at the weekend for York. Massive win for them. They've got a 2-point lead now on Bradford and Toulouse at the top of the championship. I mean, come on. I mean, again, even the second tier of rugby league, unfortunately, again, there's no publicising of it. We're not seeing it. Nobody talks about the championship on Sky Sports. Nobody talks about it. I know that other podcasts do. I know they do. But, you know, how many people watch us? The bottom line is you need the main media to be talking about the championship. I mean, look at what they do with football. Virtually every league championship game on the football's live on Sky. You know, this is a tremendous competition this year at the top end. Again, some great players playing for all of these sides. They're just not getting... I mean, we know what Oldham's recruitment's supposed to be next year. We talked about, didn't we? We talked about, you know, a lot of rumour that Johnny Lomax is off to Oldham at the end of the season. Now, you're not telling me that Johnny Lomax is not still a Super League standard player in 2026. Of course he is. And this is what I mean about, you know, if players like Johnny Lomax are going to go and play for Oldham, I'm not saying he is or he's not, that's not been confirmed. But if Johnny Lomax is going to Oldham next year, whichever team comes up, are you not telling me that Johnny Lomax won't go and play for them for a couple of seasons in Super League? Of course he would. And he'd bring with him a wealth of experience. You know, these guys won trophies. So, like I say, incredible. Heather Bailey, well done. There's another drink coming in. Carl Shaw's. We're getting loads of drinks tonight, boys. Carl Shaw's bought us one as well. As to as Craig Fulf, there's another one. They're all flying in. Unbelievable stuff. Look, guys, the bottom line is I do jest. Yes, of course, we'll raise a glass to you. This will, of course, sustain the show. That's what it's there for. But we're wrapping it up as a drink. Buy us a drink. Don't matter how we raise the money to keep this show going and make it better, as long as we keep getting bigger and we keep getting better. But yeah, maybe £2 of all of the donations would pay for this. My very, very best wishes to you all. Boys, raise a glass to our wonderful community. Marvellous. Right, okay. So that's that. Right, we're now going to go through our usual news section. And, of course, we're going to bring in the young man. Here we go. Banging or hanging?
This is what would Oliver say at Super League Raw. I have been thinking about that Warrington haven't been at their best this year, despite having some of the best players in the league, such as Matt Duffy and the partnership in the halves. I think it might be time for Warrington to bring in a coach like Steve McNamara, who can bring a lot more experience to the team. I also have to say, the try from Jake Fulis could be up there for the try of the season, and it just goes to show that in parts of the game, Warrington are world class. What do you think, Super League Raw?
So there you go. As always, our little man Ollie giving us the best of his experience. Don't know where the boys have gone. They've both disappeared on me, which is a bit odd. There's Joel. He's back. Yeah, so Warrington, case in point. First of all, what a try. What a try. I mean, that try, Joel, the Duffy one, the run from Josh Fulis, thing of absolute poetry, wasn't it?
It wasn't. You see that the type of players we've got in Super League now, you think could they kick it with the players over in the NRL? I think when you look at tries like that, you think possibly they very, very much could. I think we need to keep players like Matt Duffy in the league. You know, you talked about Johnny Lomax possibly going out to Championship. man, he's still got Super League left in him. And when you're seeing quality like that, regardless where you are in the league, you've got to appreciate how good it is and the technical skill that's involved. I've heard a massive football fan recently say there's more skill in football than there is in rugby. I don't know where they've got that from. I think they've been blinded by something, because I think there's far more skill in rugby than there'll ever be in football. Because
I think you're being a bit harsh there, mate. The amount of time they spend at the swimming pool on the diving boards. I mean, that's that you've got to give them due for that. That's a lot of hard work. The pikes and tucks and all of that.
That's more Oscar job. That's more acting and whatnot.
They didn't realise they go to RADA as well. So they go to RADA and the swimming pool. Incredible.
Absolutely. The busy people. Busy people.
Absolutely, my friend. But no, I mean, Steph, bringing Warrington. Steve McNamara, I mean, look, we had Steve on In Conversation. If you haven't seen that, if you're new to the show, if you go onto our YouTube channel, you'll see In Conversation with Steve Mack, and in his first interview, live on camera post his departure from the Catalan Dragons. We got an exclusive with Steve. And he does talk, doesn't he, Steph, that he wants a project that he could get his teeth into. And I mentioned Warrington 27 when Burgess was to depart. He didn't shun it. He didn't say no. So Ollie's point over Steve. The thing for me, though, is will Steve stay out of the game until 2027? That said, there's a lot of people calling for Sam Burgess' head this week. I mean, who'd be a coach in rugby league?
Well, exactly. No, I think if I was Steve Mack, I would want to get into and Warrington could be the perfect scenario for this, in terms of go there, maybe not as an assistant coach, but as a director of rugby or something in a higher, where they're involved in the recruitment of the club, because then they can recruit the players. I mean, Leeds case in point, if Brad Arthur signs a 1-year extension, I think they should seriously look at Steve Mack to come in there as a director of rugby and being heavily involved in those signings, with a known that it'd be great for Leeds to know Brad has signed 1 year, Steve Mack's going to be taking over in 27, and then they've got that certainty. Then I think that would be a fantastic model to follow, and I think Warrington could do with doing that at the moment. We don't know what Sam's going to do. Sam might sign a 3-year extension at Warrington. We don't know what he's going to do. So it's going to be very interesting. Put Paul Rowley in the chat there, another one who could go in and do. He was going to go into a director of rugby role at Salford, so he could be another prime one for Leeds to go and do that job if Brad signs another year extension. So, but in terms of Warrington, I don't know that you're closer to it than me, mate, on that one. So I'd probably like to hear your views on it rather than mine.
Well, that's called passing the book. But no, happy day. No, I agree. Look, at the end of the day, we know that Gary Chambers is director of rugby at Warrington. I don't see Gary going anywhere anytime soon. In terms of Steve, I also know, and I think it was publicised, that Steve actually spent a day at Warrington alongside Sam Burgess. Also, Tony Smith came back to the club and did so in recently as well, which I think is credit to Sam in terms of his coaching. Just his development as a coach. To be invite these people, and you hear a lot of it. I mean, Alex Ferguson is a great case in point. A lot of coaches. The lad at Newcastle, I forget his name. What's the lad at Newcastle's name? The coach there. I don't watch football, but I know that he's been in conversations a lot with Alex Ferguson. I know Alex Ferguson does a lot in terms of that, which again shows a lot of fantastic that the likes of Tony Smith and Steve will give that time, but equally that it's being received by the person who wants the tuition and wants that level of coaching. Sam Burgess, Sam will be devastated because he's a winner. We know he might not be a winner at the moment as a coach. He's took Warrington to 2 Challenge Cup finals. He's took him to a semi-final last season. It would appear that they're going to drop away this year. It won't be the first time that's happened to a coach. He'll be devastated because he's a winner. Do I think Sam will leave? For me, Sam Burgess would have to be sacked. Sam, for me, is too proud a man to just walk out of that job. He would. That's happening. Yeah. He signed a contract to 27. The temperature for me, I don't think Sam's going anywhere. I'd be amazed if he did at this moment in time. I think Warrington are accepting of the fact that and again, injuries. Warrington have had some really key injuries. We've spoke about that. Danny Walker proved that against Lee. Warrington looked a different team with Danny Walker at 9. Different team, and it's the same. It's the same with full KR. Mikey Lewis came out of that team and they looked a different team. Lee, don't get me wrong, Lee played phenomenal that day, but you could tell Mikey Lewis wasn't playing. Do you know what I mean? You could tell he wasn't playing. So, like I say, and when you take Ashton out as well, that's your first choice wing, you take Williams out for a period of time, that will be took into account exactly the same way that it was with Wellens last year at St. Helens and probably this year at St. Helens. It's very hard to judge a coach, when some of his key salary cap has been sat on the bench.
And point scoring. And point scoring.
Yeah. So for me, I don't see any. I think Steve McNamara would be a brilliant addition. Warrington are going to need a coach within the next 2 seasons. Do I expect Sam to extend? I probably don't. I think 27 will probably be as much as he would want to do. I think he's got ambition to go back. He's got family over there as well. I think 3 years. I don't think Warrington fans expected 3 years. So I would expect that 27 would be his last hurrah. I'd be amazed if he was to go beyond that. He could, as Steph, you said, he could. I'd be amazed if he did. That means that Warrington will be looking for a coach of pedigree in 2027. Steve McNamara ticks all those boxes. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that whatsoever. Steve McNamara has got to be in the conversation for every single Super League head coach's job that comes up between now and when he finally gets the job. Because let's be fair, as was proven when we did the In Conversation, Steve McNamara is at the top table of British coaches. No question. No question. Tell you what, I've got to stop using my electric. But it'd be an interesting one. I think it'd be an interesting one. I think it would be an interesting one. I would not be against it. Let's put it that way. I would not be against it. Right, other quick ones. Brilliant as always, Ollie. Absolutely fantastic. Again, for those of you wondering, who's this Oliver lad? Ryan Bevan. Thank you very much. He's bought us a drink. Good lad, Ryan. We've got Mike Todd. He's bought us a drink, which is outstanding. As well as buying us a drink, boys and girls, put a question in. We'll answer a question as well, or a comment. Get involved. Carla Collier has also said, worth every penny up the Super League Raw. So Carla's in there. Look at that. Hey, Joe, you're not a member. These are all members. They're not doing this because they do it because they love the show. They know what goes on behind the scenes. They know what goes on in our community. Do the QR code. Become a member. Like Heather has done. Heather tonight has become a member of Super League Raw. Heather, I'll be in touch with you tomorrow with regards to that. But welcome to the family. Right, a couple of quick hanging and bangings. We'll do it on the screen. I've been shouting this lad's name for about 3 or 4 weeks. Amazed that he wasn't one of the guys that was picked off. He's now been picked off. Chris Hankinson has gone to Leeds. Steph, hanging or banging for the Rhinos?
I think it's banging for them. Chris is a great player. He's been done a solid job at Salford. Been their best player in a few games as well. I think with the injuries that Leeds have got, it just gives them a bit more versatility in that back line. He can come in, he can play fullback, he can play centre, he can play wing. So he provides a lot of cover for them. And he's a good Super League standard player. So it's a very, very sensible and shrewd signing, I think, from Brad Arthur. And in a good side as well. I think Chris he's played it a few times. He played at Wigan, didn't he, for a bit, Chris Hankinson? But it'd be interesting to see if he does get a run of games in that Leeds team, whether he can really shine.
I think, as you say, I think you'd agree, Joel Banging. I think Chris Hankinson's a great player. Joel, your question: Regan Grace, rumoured to be going back to York Knights alongside Paul Vaughan. It does add a bit of spice to York's bid to become one of the 13 or 14 team. Regan Grace, let's not forget, 142 appearances for St. Helens, 88 tries in 6 seasons. He knows where the try line is, does Regan?
He does, and he was very well liked by the Saints fans, I believe. I think everyone was pretty much gutted when he moved to the other code that we don't like to speak about, or I don't. I think if he was to come back, that'd be fantastic. Though I would like to see him in the Super League. I think he's too good to be Championship. But once again, we don't know who's coming up to Super League in 2026. So if that's anything to go by, then that's fantastic for York, yeah.
Absolutely. Steve Bowen saying, I'd love to see Steve as director of rugby. He pretty much ruled it out on the in-combo. The guy sees himself as a coach. That's where it radiated through the conversation that I had with him. So I agree. I think he'd be a brilliant director of rugby league at Leigh. but based on the conversation that we have with Steve, I think his heart is still very much in a head coach's role. And Mark Hill, how many people are going to the grand final with Super League Raw? That's right, we've got improved tickets at the ground. Over 40 of us, mate, over 40 of us, with only Catalan Dragons not represented. So we've got over 40 fans going to the grand final together, sitting together, having an afternoon in the pub beforehand, private travel to the ground, private travel back from the ground, fish and chip dinner before we go, and a band when we get back to the home of Super League Raw. It's going to be some days the grand final, like I say, coming in from everywhere. Hull, Essex, I think it might be Somerset. I can't remember where Sally Ann's from, but certainly down south. We've got people coming from Hull, all the surrounding areas. Incredible. It's going to be an outstanding time. Just another reason to become a part of this incredible family. We go to games together. We enjoy each other's company. Well done, Mr. Hill. Outstanding stuff. Right. Tyrone May. There's been a bit of sport on social media. I can't remember my mate who got into my ribs on it. Said I was talking utter drivel that Tyrone May was going to get a ban. He got one. 2 games you can in rugby league back chat a referee and give them grief. There's a lot of talk about Sam Tompkins has done it for years. Sam Tompkins is clever. You cannot get into the face aggressively and you cannot show the level of dissent that Tyrone May did. I was confident that Tyrone May was going to get done for that, and he was. Hanging or banging, Steph?
Well, I think he's banging in the fact that they've come down hard on it, and he wasn't giving back chat. He was questioning the integrity of a match official.
That's right.
So it's
in a game, you were coasting him.
Exactly, it was stupid. And I said I was at that game as a neutral in the ground, and I turned to the Hull KR fans and said, why would you even do that in a game you're going to comfortably win? It was crazy. And now he's going to miss the Wigan game, which could potentially have implications all over the shop. With that, I'm not saying it will, but it's one of your big players to be missing. So it was, for me, I think it's exactly this. I think anybody who questions the integrity of a match official should be an automatic 2-match ban, if not more, if it's more serious. That's where it comes back down to the grassroots as well, and what kids see on TV, and getting, we don't want to be like football in terms of the way they're doing that. So rightfully done, and right that KR haven't challenged it as well, because that would have been as good as Hudgell is a great solicitor. He wouldn't have got him off that one, because where do you even go with it? How could you mitigate it?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Bad's saying Strange Arbella's not got a game this weekend. Maybe they've given him a weekend off because he's under the microscope for all the wrong reasons, perhaps. Who knows? I mean, look, we've given Bella a lot of stick this season. But bottom line is, he was the victim in that particular one. I mean, look, there was we got a bit of banter on Facebook with regards to that we were, that clip that we had from our get together at Chateau Sale, that we were dead giddy about the prospect of May getting banned. No, we were actually taking the mickey out of the Rugby Football League, saying that they'd be rubbing their hands together. Let me tell you now, not a single one of us on this screen take any satisfaction in Tyrone May missing that Wigan game. We want both teams to be full strength and for it to be an advert for the great game of rugby league. So I think you completely got that wrong. We were basically interpreting the match review panel. You talk about dish it up on the plate.
I want KR to win that game as a Leaf fan.
Exactly.
So I don't want Tyrone May missing.
Yeah. I would rather there be a different way than banning players, because I want, again, you talk about ways to grow our sport. Ways to grow our sport is the best players play. That's the way to go straight away. Yeah, straight away. So yeah. I mean, look, whoever that was, no, you completely misread the room on that. We were not happy at all, albeit we were right, and it's as simple as that. Simple as that. Right, before we go, a Warrington thing that's popped up. Matt Duffy has been stood down by the Warrington Wolves for this weekend's game against Wigan for a breach of club rules. Yeah, there you go. Now people will go, it's crisis time at Warrington. In the same way that Tyrone May has been dealt with by the Rugby Football League in terms of his dissent and to an official, Warrington cannot have players not behaving themselves or professionally. It's as simple as that. I know, and I will not go, I know of this type of thing in other clubs where it's not been leaked. I'll just put that out straight away. So for some reason, this has been leaked again. Well, say that, I think it's actually been, it might not be a leak, actually, it might be an official statement. But the point is, I know of other ones this season where the same thing has happened at clubs and it hasn't hit the press. So all clubs have standards, regardless of what they are in terms of code of conduct as a player and what they're expected to do. And if they fall foul of that, then they are punished for it. And that's exactly what's happened here. It comes at a time where there's a lot of scrutiny and a lot of noise around Warrington. I get that. But the club have to have standards. And the reason why they were successful under Tony Smith is that he had standards. And you've got to have impeccable standards at a club, regardless of player, if you are going to make it in the long term. So, Warrington fans will look at that and go, But yeah, I don't know what Andy Bibby's disagreeing with, but there you go. Yes, happy days.
Not like Andy to disagree.
It's unlike Andy to disagree, but I don't know what he's disagreeing about, so we'll move on. Right, because of time, we're not going to do the usual bells and whistles. We couldn't anyway because I haven't done it. We're not going to do the bells and whistles team of the week, but here is team of the week. Team of the week is sponsored by the Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. Okay, here it is, the team of the week. We'll go through it. Like I say, no bells and whistles this week because you might be wondering why. I've spent the day with my son. That's why. I've spent the entire day with my son and I've really enjoyed it. So something I had to give, and that was it. As you know, this isn't my full-time job. I want it to be. If it was my full-time job, you'd have got both. But there you go. Right. Fullback, Tristan Saylor, Joe Burgess and Lewis Martin on the wings. Tessie New and Davy Litton in the centres. Mikey Lewis, Harry Smith in the halves. The front row, Luke Yates, Jared O'Connor and Caius Fiatilli, Reece Martin, Joe Greenwood and Isaac Liu make up the team of the week. Joel, your thoughts on the team of the week?
It's a very good team of the week. It's different to what you'd normally see with some players. You don't normally see Luke Yates in there. Fiatilli obviously He's been on there a few times, hasn't he? Joe Greenwood. I think it's a team that, and I've said this a few times, but this just shows how good Super League Raw's team of the weeks are. That I would love to watch them play together in a team just for 1 week. I'm quite interested to see how that would go as up against a team like a Wigan as they are. It's funny though, only having the one Wigan player in there, you've got a couple more FC players in.
Yeah. Well, I could not have Davy Litton and Lewis Martin in. I know they were on the losing side, but what more did you want from your centre and your winger? They were absolutely in tandem. They were Bert and Ernie, they were Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. They were absolutely in tandem. They really, really was. So again, totally overlooked. And not Steph, they had to go in. It was probably one of the, on a losing side, a near on perfect centre winger partnership that day.
Yeah, no, they were fantastic, and it just goes to show you don't have to be in the winning side to get in the team. You have some great performances, like Yates, for example. I know he's in there. He was phenomenal against Lee on Friday night. So no, it's good to see those two making an appearance there. I think Saylor deserves a shout. Nobody was questioned more than him, I don't think, this year in Super League than Saylor. Along with the Saints side at that time as well. And your Saints are improving, but as is Tristan Saylor, he's done a fantastic job these last few weeks. And I think the dilemma for Saints is now when Wellesby comes back, where do you put Saylor? Because his best position's fullback without a doubt.
There's a problem for him.
So it's going to be a dilemma, and also then you've got Felt and Dagnall who are both playing brilliantly on the wing, so you can't put him in one of those positions. So where are you going to play him? But that's a good problem for Paul to have rather than a bad one. So no, and Mikey Lewis is. I know they were playing Salford. We'll all say they played Salford. 8 assists in a game is phenomenal. And Burgess getting 4 of those. I think they were all from kicks as well. So that deserves a shout out. And I thought Reece Martin was really good in that game as well. He did a great effort. Seeing him live was brilliant. And I think he went over 1,000 points as well in that game.
He did indeed. He did. He went over 1,000 points. Great knowledge, Mr. Sale, as always. You don't have feel old when you've got young Samuel and one of our youngest members saying, "Who's Ginger Rogers?"
For Tilly's mum.
Yeah, and then Greg Roach limps in and tells him, but no, happy days. I mean, yeah, Luke Yates, you mentioned Luke Yates, 43 tackles. He only missed one all game, 80 minutes of play, 17 carries, 121 metres. Probably arguably his best game of the season for Warrington. Absolutely outstanding. And everybody went Hanley because Hanley got 2 tries. One wasn't a try, and in the history of man, I'll say that. He had a good game, did Hanley. But Tessie knew. I mean, the amount of, Tessie knew was, again, he's running. I mean, what a player. I mean, yes, it's like, as Bobby George used to say, yeah, trebles for show, doubles for dough. Well, the tries were for show, the doubles were for dough, and Tessie knew did a lot of hard work on that edge for them. And talking the chat well over Isaac Leo as a non-Lafer, I feel for Isaac Leo because it's very easy to try and compare and contrast him because he's gone into a number 13 shirt with Asiata. They're 2 very different number 13s, totally different skill sets. But what I see in Isaac Leo is a very, very steady ship. He does a lot of hard graft down the middle, very good in defence, and his meters are increasing all the time. Do I think we've seen the best of him? No. Do I still think there's more to come from him? Absolutely. But I think if Isaac Leo was in another team that didn't have John Asiata last year, I think people would recognise a lot more how well he's playing. But I think because of Asiata and what he brought to Lee, he's suffering a little bit there. But trust me, Isaac Leo is having a great season at Lee and can only get better. I would say that as well. So there you go. That is the team of the week. It's now time for this.
Ooh, pass me a cucumber sandwich.
Yes, it's that time of the week. We've kept this one in. No wobbles this week. We haven't had time, but we've certainly got time to do this one. Right. Where are we going to go first? Actually, I don't think, I can't believe it. I've not updated it. I can't believe it. It'll give me one moment because there are some absolute belters in here that we're going to have to do. We're going to start at Lee, I think. I think we're going to start at Lee. Right. Who got the man of the match, do you think, then, Steph? Who got 3 points at Lee?
Thanks.
You're going Luke Yates.
Yeah.
Luke Yates. Okay, get your teeth in. Luke Yates is where you're going. Okay. Who got the man of the match? Albert Goldthorpe, Joel at Lee.
At Lee.
Yeah. Steph has gone Luke Yates.
Possibly Leo.
Leo, yeah. In the interest of time, Mark Sneed.
Oh, wow.
But hey, hang on a minute, Steph. You're going to love this. Guess who Lee's best player was on the day? Who got 2 points? Lee's best player on the pitch. Got 2
I think
points.
we mentioned him testing you.
No, Bailey Hodgson.
No.
There's a correlation there because Mark Sneed did 2 kicks where he's obviously got it for knocking on. And that kick, he kicked a penalty from 45 metres out. And Bailey Hodgson dropped 2 of his bombs. So
Bailey Hodgson's been outstanding, but that was probably one of his worst performances of the season by his standards this year.
It
wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't the best league player on the pitch. It's an absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Going to the Saints game, Tristan Saylor got man of the match. No issues with that. Matt Percival got 2. Owen Dagnall got 1. I think that's probably a bit kind where Dagnall's concerned. And then no arguments at the other game. Mikey Lewis 3, Reece Martin 2, Joe Burgess 1. So I think I think you need to turn the smoke off at Lee. It's getting in the journalist's eyes, mate. Is what I would say.
It must be making him cough.
Must be making him cough or something like that. But yeah, there you go. Right, again, in the interest of time, apologies, Joel. But we're gonna quickly do. I'll let Joel do the graph for it though. Joel, would you like to tell people who are winning the prizes currently for the Fantasy League?
Yeah, so Alan Ballagher's doing really well in first and second. So he's doing well for getting himself a replica shirt and the season ticket. But Stuart Scaife is obviously in the third. And, well done to Stuart. He's been there all season long. and it's really good chance for people to really push themselves up the fantasy league, because even those that have, I know even the top 10 have got a chance of getting in to the top 10 with some of the scores. You look at the person who's in 40th, which is, let me just get that up now, which I've got it here. I do apologise. Come on now. It's Emma Atherton with 570 points in 40th. And then you look at the table there, you've got one Alan Bagley in second and first and second, Stuart Scaife in third, Stuart Scaife in fourth, Neil Ormston, who was always in and around there, in fifth, and sixth, Neil Ormston again, sixth, Stephen Broomfield, and then eighth, you've got Liam Cannon, ninth, David Moore, and Oliver 10 in Oliver Deering in 10th. So it's pretty tight up at the top there, but clearly you can, if you've got a good few weeks in a row, you've got a chance of making the top 10.
Yeah, so again, for those of you who are new to Super League Raw, at the start of every season, we have our very own league table on the Fantasy League, and the winner will get a season ticket for their club. The second place person will get their replica shirt in 2026. And of course, the third place will get Super League Raw merch. Again, members get the opportunity of playing in that league table. Three teams if they are team talk, 2 if they're 6 again, and 1 if they're 18th man. More than pays for a season, more than pays for the membership. So well done to them. Tom Massa saying that he will die on the hill that Leo is ineffective. Okie dokie.
We need some stats on Captain's Run Day for Leo.
Well, I mean, just do a bit of player cam is what I'd say. Tom, you know me, mate. I've got no allegiance. I call it straight, mate. I've said my piece. I think I'm not a million miles off. I think he's coming under very unfair criticism. He's been steady away from me. But hey, it's all about opinions, my mate. You're entitled to yours. Right, let's get into the Predictions League. Here we go. We're going to have to be quick. We're going to have to leave a lot of this for the Captain's Run, I'm afraid. It's been a great night of debate, though. I hope people have enjoyed the extended format. If you want a question answering, get it in the chat. If you definitely want it answering, get it on a super chat. We've got literally 22 minutes left. If you haven't bought us a beer yet and you want to, by all means do. Right, here we go. As you can see, Mr. Sale is now joint top of the table. 3 from 3 at the weekend. Really did him the job. He's now level with Greg. And for the first time in a long time, the members have dropped to third. They're at 273. Then it's the non-members. Joel at 256, me at 254, and Earl at 248. It's getting very, very interesting now. Not long to go. Steph, you've had a great run of form these last 3 or 4 weeks. You're right back in it, mate.
I know, it's quite surprised at that, but no, good to see. A bit like my team in it. They're having a bit of a run at the minute. So
they are, mate. You're doing really, really well. The league table, then, not actually quite sure. That's the wrong league table. Forget I put that up. That's an absolute load of nonsense. I've actually got the right one. Let's have a quick look. Have I got the right one? Have a look. Here we go. That should be it. Here we go. Boom, there you are. Right, yeah, that's the right one. The Robins, 4 points clear of the Wigan Warriors. Then, of course, Lee. Look at Lee there. 29 points. The Leafers are getting giddy. Imagine that in a season where they've won the Battle of the Borough 2-1. They pit Wigan for second. Imagine the party in the bus stop. Oh, dear God. Outstanding. That'd be good. Saints looking very chipper there. And then the Rhinos. I mean, massive games going to come to them in a minute. Then Trinity in 6. 4 points clear of the Wire. 1 point clear of Hull FC. And then, of course, the chasing pack behind that. These are the fixtures, gentlemen. And what a bunch. The first 3, absolutely brilliant. The Lee Leopards go up against the Leeds Rhinos. I think if Lee win this, they pretty much see off any threat from the Rhinos in terms of overtaking Lee this season. I think Lee would be probably favourite then to hold Leeds off in terms of from now until the end of the regular season. But of course, the chasing down that second, it's going to be fascinating. Wakefield Trinity, they're going to be hosting the Saints. Wow. Actually, Ellie's in there now with a £1.99 up the Leopards. Look at that.
Reduce the pocket money.
I was going to say too much pocket money there, mate. In fact, we'll leave that up for a little bit longer. Very young is Ellie. very young. Good effort, Ellie. Outstanding. I'm sure your dad will donate that back to you. But anyway, that's by the by. But yeah, what a game. Wakey against Trin. That again, massive game. Saints win that, gives them some breathing space. Trin win it. Wow. Warrington, pretty much done and dusted for me. They beat Wigan. They've got to beat Wigan. Again, it's not mathematically impossible, albeit it's very, very unlikely. But Wigan go to the wire. Should be interesting. Cannot believe, gentlemen, that Warrington Wigan has trumped Trinity Saints for the telly. Can't believe that, quite frankly. I think the Trin Saints game has got far more to like about it. There you go. Ellie's already in the chat saying, Dad, can you pay me back? She's regretting it already. Anyway.
There's a catch.
Yeah, always a catch. Yeah, he said, make it up to an even tenner.
He definitely didn't. He definitely didn't.
I feel awful. I didn't know Sammy Holt's getting in on the act as well. What's going on here? Shocking. That's a Coke being bought for Sam in the Blue Bell on Friday. Yes, we are doing a live at the Blue Bell on Friday. If you're a Wigan Warriors fan, Warrington Wolves fan, get down to the Blue Bell on Friday from 6 p.m. We've got a couple of games. We've got a new game for you as well. We're only going to be able to do it once, but it should be a right good laugh, that one. A couple of games before we walk down to the Halliwell Jones Stadium. Prizes up for grabs as well. So get to the Blue Bell from 6 o'clock this Friday with the Super League Royal family. You will love it. The best build-up possible. And we will be live on YouTube from 6:20 direct from the pub. Then, of course, it's KR against the Castleford Tigers. The Giants taking on Catalan. We've got to try and find something to get excited about. That, for me, is an opportunity for Huddersfield to try and finish as high as they possibly can. Yes, there's only marginal gains in terms of IMG, but pride is there as well. A real opportunity for Huddersfield, maybe, to rein in the Catalan Dragons. That would be something that they'd be happy about, I'm sure, the Carvel Army. And then finally, FC play Salford. Right, okay, like I said, we have to leave the main debate and stats and everything for the captain's run. We've gone on, but we will talk about these games. Right, starting off here, we're going to have to be quick. Lee against the Leeds Rhinos. Morgan Gannon there in shot. Great for Leeds. I mean, Gannon was in great form before he went out. Of course, Chris Hankinson in the 21-man squad now, of course, from the Salford Red Devils. Looking at the two squads, start with you, Steph, your team. Pretty much as you were. Daniel McIntosh back.
Yeah, in terms of the squads, yeah, but I really think that we will get Ethan O'Neill and Robert Mulhern back this week for this one. If I was a betting man, I think Adrian Lamb, they could have played last week, but Lamb was confident in the team to go out there and do the job against Warrington. Could have been a bit risky that in the way the game turned out, but I do expect both of those to come back in. I don't expect McIntosh to come back in over Charlie. I think that would be a bit crazy to do that at this moment in time, especially coming back off an injury. So I think O'Neill and Mulhern to come in, but not McIntosh.
Yeah, fair enough. Garibo, treat on me. £2 from Garibo coming in. Thanks, Garibo. Really appreciate that, mate. Top man. Joel, I mean, this is a big game, I think, for the Leeds Rhinos. They've been a bit up and down. They've been a little bit up and down. In the same way that Lee at this moment in time, the run that they're on, I'll reiterate it, Wigan, KR, Saints, Warrington. If they go and beat Leeds, people are looking at Lee and going, these are genuine title contenders. Many people are considering them that now. From a Leeds perspective, if they was to beat Lee, having had those 4 scalps, it just maybe resets them again for a late surge from them, and people looking at Leeds going, well, do you know what? They also could be a team in the playoffs to be feared. I think it's a big game for Leeds. They need to go there and they need to show something. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and they've got every chance of doing that when you look likes of Armstrong not playing. Of course, you look at like Robbie Mulhern possibly coming back. That's a massive hit for Leeds, that. And if that's the case, that could change the tide for Lee and make sure that they claim their spot in the top 3. I think you look at Leeds though; they've got the opportunity here, possible opportunity of sneaking a win, and if they do, then they keep their hopes alive of being as high as possible in that top 6. But this is the game of the round, and I'm going to see it that this is going to be a very, very close one on either way. I presume we're not doing predictions tonight, but
I'll do it. No, yeah. Go on.
Yeah, I have gone Leeds 1-8, but that was because of Armstrong not being in, and I didn't think Robbie Mulhern was coming back. But since Steph has said that's changed, I kind of think maybe I should change my prediction. But I'm going to stick with Leeds 1-8.
You can change it. Are you changing it? Are you sticking?
I'm going to change it. Leeds 1-8.
Lee 1-8. Okay. Steph, which way are you going?
Right, just want a disclaimer on the super chats as well. If you're under 18, you need to ask your parents' permission. Just on the
Really?
super chats.
No, I didn't know that. Thank you,
No,
Steph.
no, I'm joking. So Ellie doesn't do any more.
All right.
No, I think this is going to be a really tough game, as you'd expect for two teams that are sat one below each other. I think Gannon, if he comes back in, that's a big boost for Leeds as well. I think it's going to be really close, but I'm going to back Leeds 1-8.
Okay. Right. In the chat, let's give a couple of shout outs. Kev Wall, Lee 1-8. He's gone that way. Craig 4th, Lee 9-17. Ellie said Charlie definitely over McIntosh. Heather Bailey, our newest member, she's 100% in agreement. Ben Macklin, Lee 9-17. Keith Lambert, Lee 8-17. He's making up his own game. Well played, Keith. Gary Bow leads 1-8. He's going the way of the Rhinos. Phil Webster's gone the Rhinos 9-17. Greg Roach, interesting. Roachy's gone Leeds net 1-8. There's one for the memory bank, Mr. Sale. Paul Fail.
A few times.
Yeah, if O'Neill and Mulhern back, I go 9-17. Greg, he went Lee 9-17. The members, they've gone Lee 1-8. The non-members have gone Lee 1-8. I've gone Lee 9-17. I think Lee at the moment looking sparkling form. Right, let's go to, I think, a great game, a brilliant game of rugby league at Trin. St. Helens going there again in good form. They're very solidly in the top 6. They've had a good knock against Trinity this season. It's been a team that has been favourable towards them in terms of wins. So they will go there with confidence. There's no question about that. They turned them over in what was a very tight first half at the start of the season. But in the end, Saints were fortuitous that day as well. Got a couple of decisions that went their way for me. Some big 50-50 calls went the way of the Saints. So Saints fans will know this is going to be a difficult journey to the DIY on Friday evening. Joel, very briefly, who do you think is going to win Trin Saints?
I'm going to go for Saints 1-8, and that's just because they've progressively got so much better over the year, and the season has got really good for Saints, and I think they've got a chance here of showing that they are still a very top team. Though it's close 1-8.
1-8, you're going the Saints.
Yeah.
Steph, same to you. Trin Saints.
Yeah, I think another cracking game. This one, can't wait to watch this on Friday. I just think two sides that are very much in form at the moment, playing some really nice rugby. I just think home advantage is going to kick in on this one, and the atmosphere and everything that's building at Wakefield. I think they might end Saints' good run, and I'm going to go Wakey 9-17, but I think it'll be a low 9-17.
Wow. Okay. Trinity 9-17. Trinity are my guilty pleasure. Everybody knows that. I really love what Trinity have done this year. I really do. I'm just sensing Saints are coming. Don't know why. I'm just getting the feeling that Saints are just getting players back.
It's hard to pick.
It's hard to pick. The game plays back. The fact that they've beaten Trin this season, Trin hasn't had a scalp over him. I'm going to go Saints 1-8. But again, I see very, very little in this. In the chat, Roll Stag, there you go, Saints fan. He sees it close, 1-8. Jono, Saints 1-8. Tom Bevan's gone Wakey 1-8. Kerry Robinson, hello, Kerry. First time I've seen your name in the chat tonight. Wakey 1-8. You might have been in there already, but there's a lot of people chatting, so don't take that personally. Ryan Bevan, Wakey 1-8. Ben Macklin, Saints 1-8. It's all 1-8. Has anybody gone big? I don't think anybody's gone big, have they? No, they've not.
Just me with the 9-17.
Yeah, just you. Everybody's going to 1-8. Greg, he went Trinity 1-8. The members have gone Trin 1-8, and the non-members have gone Trin 1-8. Volstag says never write off the Saints. Okay, Eddie, we won't. Right, Warrington against Wigan. Steph, you'll be hopefully with me, mate, for this one and live in the Bluebell on Friday night. Going to be great. We've got Craig coming down from Hull. We've got Emma and Andy, winners of the quiz. Yeah, we give tickets away here at Super League Raw. All three of them will be the guests of Super League Raw this weekend. Looking forward to their company on Friday night. I mean, look, Warrington-Wigan doesn't need any selling. Wigan at the moment, as much as I expect Wigan to win, in fact, let me just go straight on. I'm going to go Wigan. and I'm going to go Wigan 18 plus, and people will go, what? Yeah, I think that was the bubble burst last week against Lee. I really, really do. Hope I'm wrong when I say that, but I think Wigan are going to put a score on it. I really do. Could be wrong. In fact, no, let me rein it in. I'll go 9-17. I'll go 9-17. Maybe not 18, but they'll certainly win by 2. 9-17, the Warriors. Steph, your thoughts?
Who will replace Dufty, Dave?
I think they'll put Fulis back there. I think it'll probably be Josh. Either that or they could put Stefan Ratchford back there, old head, maybe. They've got that as an option. But the problem that they've got is that Colin Wrench failed his HIA. So the chances are for me, it more than likely would be Ratchford going in to the centres, which would mean Fulis would go to the back. And then somebody will be brought in to play on the wing, maybe again, could be a Frank Sargent. He could get a berth, maybe. Be interesting to see who they play, because we're down on numbers now on the wing, so it's going to be interesting to see who we play. That said, he could bring Zach Gardner back in. Saying that, I think Gardner's injured, isn't he? I think Zach might be injured. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, it's going to have to be a shuffle. But go on, over to you.
I was going to have this a lot closer than what I'm going to say. I thought Warrington were brilliant last week against Leeds for 70 minutes. They were outstanding. And I was going to have this something like Wigan 1-8. But because of the bit of turmoil that's gone on there with the Dufty thing and who's going to play, who's not going to play, I'm going to go Wigan 18 plus.
You're going 18s?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to stick on 9-17. Maybe a bit of hope. Maybe not a blowout. Could be 40.
We'll get grief then on thinking when you win.
No, that's your trick. I don't do that. I genuinely think we're going to win. Anyway, Joel, over to you. Your thoughts?
I'm going to stick with what I had, but I'm going to change with what I think that the outcome will be.
Right.
With Dufty not playing, I did put 9-17, but I was going to say on the lower end of that. But I think this is going to now be, unfortunately, on the higher end of that. I don't see it as an 18 plus just because of how well Warrington played this last week. However, I do see a 9-17. I'm going to stick with it because usually your gut feeling is pretty right.
Well, everybody in the chat is going Wigan by the Warrington fans. That's Bazza Kingston is going why because, of course, the KR elements of it. Don't get me wrong, I know exactly why. But he's even put that way. He's gone that way. Warrington fans, they're living in hope. A couple of 1-8s for the wire. Ollie Stokes, again, KR fan, wants why to win. Then he wakes up on Saturday and realises that hadn't happened. But yeah.
I want Warrington to win.
Of course,
18 plus.
Of course you do. Very mindful. We've got 7 minutes. Greg went to Wigan 9-17. The fans forum are the same, and the non-members the same. So there you go. Right, we now go to. This is a quickie, surely. KR Castleford. KR 18 plus for me for obvious reasons. KR absolute juggernaut. They are at home. They're not on the smaller pitch of Cass. I think they will, even without Tyrone May, they will destroy Castleford. Joel?
18 plus.
And Steph?
It'll be KR 18 plus. Mikey Lewis 2 tries. Joe Burgess 3 tries.
Hey, is that a little guide into bet, Steph, on Thursday? You'll have to tune in and find out on Captain's Run. KR 18 plus, says Greg. 18 plus also for the fans, for the members and the non-members. And in the chat, it's an 18-point galore. Kerry Robinson's even going 30 plus. Let's go FC. Let's jump to FC and we'll come back to the Giants game. FC taking on Salford. Great news, it would appear. Asiata and Will Price may be back for FC, the long-awaited return. That will give them a bit of impetus in the go forward. So FC against Salford. I'm going 18 plus FC. Steph?
Yeah, I would say it's going to be 18 plus in it.
And Joel?
Yeah, I can't agree. I think FC are due a big one, and this is possibly the one.
Yeah. So it's 18 plus to you.
Yeah.
Everybody has gone 18 plus for FC. Bazza Kingston, he's that confident that it's going to be a 30 pluser. He's given us his stake. So what he gets given back from the bookies, he's giving to us. He's that confident in the bet that he's going to put on that he's even donated that. What a lad, Bazza King. I tell you what, he must have been given a lot of money for his 40th, Bazza. Outstanding effort. Outstanding. Good lad, Bazza. Where would we be without the loyalty and love of our community? And that gives us just 2 minutes to discuss the Pride game, as I'm calling it. Huddersfield Giants taking on Casper. Both of these two sides have had shockers this season for various reasons. Pride on the line. Both will want to finish the season strong. In its own way, this is probably going to be a very good game of rugby league, I'm hoping. Might be Everfest. It might not be the greatest brand, or they might turn it on for a game. But I think it'll be a proper competitive game and be well worth watching, as opposed to, people who don't believe that games are worth watching in rugby league. We believe all of them are worth watching in rugby league. And we'll certainly be watching this one. Steph, your thoughts?
Yeah, a really interesting one, this, in terms of where both teams have been at this season. Very close in the league. I think it could be a really, really good match, this. And my prediction is based on Flanagan playing, and I think it comes down to that for Huddersfield. And if he plays, I'm going Huddersfield 1-8.
1-8 to Hood, you're going. I'm going 9-17. Joel, what say you?
Which he is playing. And I am going to change my prediction because I did say Catalan 1-8.
You did, and it astonished me, but go on.
But I'm going to go Giants 1-8 because this is breaking news. My daughter Amber's first ever rugby league game on her season ticket.
Yes, lovely stuff. Loads of photos coming our way on that one. Make sure you get plenty of photos, big fella. Lovely stuff. Marvellous. Look forward to seeing them on the tiles. Maybe it won't be an Alfie one all along, maybe with the odd other photo in there as well. That'll be one that we will all be waiting for in the chat on Saturday, isn't it, that you play? Nigel Ward, Giants 1-8, lower end. Phil Webster, Huddersfield. Anybody going Catalan? Nigel Bennett's gone Catalan 1-8. But majority are backing you, Joe. Majority are backing you. In terms of Greg, he went Giants 9-17. Non-members and members gone 1-8. The Giants. I'll tell you what we might do next week. That'll be very, very interesting. Because next week we will be announcing the Super League Raw team of the month for July, the coach of the month for July. That's back next week in all of its glory. Maybe a little chat at the start of the show could be who would be our runner and rider for Young Player of the Year 2025. Because as that just popped into my head, the race is on for that. The race is properly on for Young Player of the Year. There's been some exceptional performances. So there you go. Another Super League Raw Weekly in the bag. As always, thanks to Joel. Thanks to Steph. Greg, if you're listening on a Sun Lounger, we're missing you, buddy. You enjoy topping up that suntan. Don't forget to get that factor 50 on the bonnet, sir. We won't want you coming back with a red dome. But yeah, loads of stuff coming your way. After the top performers, see what we've got in store for you for the rest of the week. From all of us to you, bye for now. Here are your top performers after 20 rounds of the Betfred Super League. The top try scorers are now Jai Field and Mikey Lewis joining him on 18 for the season. The most try assists is still Lachlan Lamb, the League Leopards on 27, albeit Mikey is just one behind on 26. The top meter maker is Lockie Miller, the Leeds Rhinos, 3,025. Whilst the most clean breaks have come from the Robin again, Mikey Lewis on 24. The top tackler has been there all year, Oliver Parton of the Catalan Dragons, 827. Whilst the top tackle busters are now Lockie Miller and Tessie New, 120 apiece. The most hard meters made have come from Alex Walmsley, 2,526. Whilst the most offloads is joint between Paul Vaughan of the Warrington Wolves and Tane Mill of the Huddersfield Giants, 38. And finally, still, the best goal kicker in the division is Atterborg of Hull KR with 67. These are your top performers after 20 rounds.